It's time now for your weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news from the Southwest region. This is Fox Sports Outdoors Southwest.
Recently, I have had a chance to be with some of the best professional crappie anglers anywhere in the United States. People like Lee Pitts in Alabama, Wally Marshall in Texas, Brad Chappell and his buddy Bo in Mississippi. These guys win a lot of money, travel around doing a lot of speaking, teaching people how to catch crappie. I've heard a lot of conversation recently about a technique for catching these crappie in the summertime that I've never done. It's called pulling cranks for crappie. It involves long poles, rod holders, and trolling out over deep underwater ridges and humps and creek channels and catching big old slab crappie. Now, I had a chance to actually do this for the very first time yesterday. I came to this lake. Welcome into beautiful Wister Lake. It's located on the far eastern side of Oklahoma, and we'll show you a quick clip I shot yesterday at my very first ever attempt at pulling crankbaits for crappie. So on today's show, I thought I would get out and teach you a few of the basics that I've already learned about pulling crankbaits in summertime, this fantastic technique that I'm learning about. And while we're doing that, we're taking you around the region for your latest fishing reports from our expert team of reporters to cover your local lakes, rivers, and bays. It's going to be a lot of fun. Right now, we're getting the Nitro Z8 out into Wister Lake in eastern Oklahoma. While we do that, we're taking you back to the FSN studios for your weekend planner.
The Salooner tables are indicating mixed game fish activity for weekend fishing. Saturday's outlook is listed as excellent, with the best action taking place around dawn and again at 5:49 in the afternoon. Sunday is less promising with poor conditions projected for the day. Expect sunrise to take place at 6:32 with sunset happening at 8:34. And night skies will feature a moon that is 43% visible. We'll be right back with all of the current fishing reports from around the Southwest. And I'll return with professional angler Aaron Martins on this week's Whataburger Ask the Pro to talk about catching bass in the heat of the day. First though, here's a look at some of the photos entered in our Costa Catch of the Week contest. These entries didn't win, but are definitely worth a look. We'll check in with Barry on Wister Lake in just a bit.
Well, as you can see, we've made it out onto Wister Lake in our Nitro Z8. I have it rigged up with rod holders today. This technique we're going to be showing you, pulling crankbaits, involves a rod holder and setting multiple rods out. Now, as you can see, I've already got a 14-foot long rod out on one side with a bait cast reel. I'll show you all that at the end in the Academy Sports and Outdoors Right Stuff. I've got a little shorter one. I've got a 10-foot rod just inside it. That way they don't interfere with each other. So I've got one out at 14, one in at 10. This side, you come over here and you see I've got another one out at 14. And then I'm gonna set this other 10-footer inside it. Now all I'm gonna do is take these little crankbaits and I'll give you just a quick little look at that one, but that's the Strike King slab hammer and it's spinning around, but that's a good crappie color. They make them in good crappie colors and that's a pink one. So I'm gonna cast it out and then I'm gonna let line come off the spool, and I like to run them about 30 yards to 40 yards behind the boat, something like that. So I'm gonna spool off line to where I think it's about 30 or 40 yards, click it in gear, put it in the rod holder. Now, I've got a good pattern. I'm covering the whole field of water. Actually, I'm covering almost 30 feet of water with 4 crankbaits pulling at equal distances all across an area. That way, if there are crappie in an area, chances are one of these crankbaits is gonna go right in front of his face. We'll see what happens out here. Drifting downwind, I'll talk to you about location. I'll give you some more information about Lake Wister and a whole lot more about pulling cranks. Stay with us, we're coming right back.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Costa Sunglasses. See what's out there. By Luz, setting a new standard in fishing performance. Feel the difference. By Strike King Lures, #1 in fishing. And by Lowrance Electronics. Find, navigate, dominate.
There's a bite right there. All right, we got one. Hey everybody, welcome back. Fox Sports Outdoors today is on Wister Lake in far eastern Oklahoma, near the Arkansas border, and we're pulling cranks today. Oh, there's a bite right there too. I got two of them. Golly. All right, that one's gonna have to hold it right there. Let me see if I can get this one. Here we go. And I have a fish on the other line too. That's a big one. All right, looky here. There is a big crappie right there. Look at the size of that dude. Let's see if I can just swing him in. All right. If you find fish, a lot of times you'll find more than one, and catching more than one is not uncommon. That's a Strike King slab hammer crankbait, and it just nailed 2 slabs right there. All right. How about that to get it started? All right, into the live well they go right here. All right, let's talk about speed. What I've done is I've set up out here off a river channel. I'll talk to you about locations in a minute. And I'm drifting up in about 8 feet of water, and it falls off into about 25, something like that. Trying to stay up on that 8-10 foot ledge. Speed's critical. So I want to show you here on my Lowrance HDS9. You see right there in the top left-hand corner, I've drifted off into the edge of the river channel, but you can see my speed is about a mile an hour. These baits will dive anywhere from 8 to about 12 feet deep. To get them that deep, you want to go 0.7 to 1.3, and I've got speed over ground, as you can see, set there on my HDS9, and I'm constantly watching my speed. I'm using my trolling motor to ease my way along, make corrections, and I'm gently letting the wind carry me down as well. All right, we're off to a good start. Let's get you some fishing reports from your local lakes, rivers, and bays. Let's go to Oklahoma. Here's Gary Dollahan.
Hey, here in Oklahoma, we're extremely fortunate to continue to be getting good rain showers at many places across the state. It's definitely benefiting those watersheds, and a hot time of the year, we're extremely thankful for that. But you know, for the most part across the state, we're now in our true summertime fishing patterns. It's a very predictable time of year as to how to catch fish. Here's what I suggest you try on your next outing. First of all, concentrate on the mid-lake areas. Now that first hour, hour and a half a day, throw top water and concentrate on the transition areas, such as a bluff transitioning into chunk rock or into pea gravel. Now when the sun starts getting up overhead, go to the break line. Look for the break line 8 to 12 feet. That's a great depth right now. Lots of fish, lots of shad activity at that depth. You can catch them there. A wonderful lure choice, 8 to 12 inch worms. Good colors, green pumpkin, watermelon pepper, any of the plum variations. Now pro angler Tommy Biffle says the best worm weight for fishing 8 to 12 feet is a 7/16 ounce. Pay attention to that because it works extremely well. Work up to that break line, bring that worm off of it, you can catch the bass there. Now 8 to 12 foot is also the depth that you can catch a lot of white bass on our lakes at this time. Look for the main point flats, 8 to 12 feet, that break off from there into the deep river channel. If you don't know where those areas are on the lake, can't find them on your map, best way to find them is watch what the big egrets and the gray blue herons are doing right now. They're flying back and forth real low over the water, over those areas that have big concentrations of shad, and you're going to find those ledges are close to those areas. Crappie right now, you can catch them on the standing timber next to the creek channels. Again, look for that 12 to 14 foot depth first. Don't be afraid to go down to 19 to 20 feet. Lots of crappie being caught still in Oklahoma. Great time of year to be fishing, but you can't catch them if you don't go.
Little correction right there. Hey, welcome back everybody. You're on Fox Sports Outdoors. We're cruising along today and catching a lot of crappie already. We're getting bit a lot. And let's talk a little bit about where you want to fish. You want to be fishing out in fairly open water, not around a bunch of brush and cover, because you'll stay snagged constantly. You want to be along a main ledge where it drops off from say 10 or 12 feet of water into a creek or a river channel. You want to be an underwater hump, an underwater ridge, a long point. Is that a fish? I don't know. Yeah, that's a fish. So main lake stuff is what you want to be concentrating on to find these crappie. They'll suspend sometimes out over really deep water. They'll suspend out over a river channel or really just out over open water, eating little threadfin shad, you got to be kind of easy with them when they're that far behind the boat. Again, 30, 40 yards back there, and they are plenty tired. All right, 14 feet worth of fishing rod right there, and I'll explain why in just a little bit. There we go, just another good one for the live well. In he goes, working on a good mess in there. I tell you, this is so much fun. First time I've done this, and there's a lot to it. It's a lot about location, location, location. Find the right ledge, find the right hump, the right ridge, and then you can mark it with a waypoint on your electronics or throw a marker buoy out. You can just keep going around and around it in a circle. Once you find the depth, you can catch crappie after crappie after crappie. They're never alone, and you can catch a whole live well full of them on this technique. Hey, let's get you some more fishing reports.
Hi everybody, this week's Lone Star Lakes is brought to you by Backlash Offshore Fishing. Now we're at Lake Cooper where the water levels have come back up to a launchable level after being almost unusable since last September. Hybrid fishing on Cooper is what it's best known for, and you'll find them up relatively shallow in less than 10 feet of water. Throw your spoons, throw your slabs, work them up from about 4 foot of water out to about 10 over the main lake points. Also, catfishing on Cooper right now, fantastic around some of the timbered points as well. Use your cut bait or your prepared baits over baited holes. And another great hybrid fishery is Lake Tawakoni, where it can be a little difficult to get in anywhere but the Tawakoni State Park ramp. There you'll fish for hybrids over main lake humps. Use your jig heads with a plastic body or those same jig and spoons. That's this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by Backlash Offshore Fishing. Now let's check in with Mr. Bill Olson. He's on the coast.
Hi folks, this week's report is brought to you by Port Aransas on Mustang Island, the fishing capital of Texas, where anglers enjoy pristine bays, estuaries, 18 miles of surf, and the deep blue waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Plus the local restaurants will even cook your catch come sundown. Come fish and play Texas Island style. For more information, visit portaransas.org. Well, things are starting to get more summer-like. That is, if we were in early June. It seems like this year's delay was more like 6 weeks late as opposed to just a month. White shrimp are moving out of the marsh on Sabine Lake and into the bay. Birds are working overhead. Some solid trout to 6 pounds are on the shorelines, and the flounder bite is picking up. Redfish are starting to school. Now the Bolivar Pocket, which had been hot, has become very clear, and fish have moved up the coast away from the North Jetties. East Galveston Bay is giving up solid trout to those wade fishing and throwing topwater lures. East Bay reefs have also turned on. Offshore activity out of Freeport and Port O'Connor, as well as Port Aransas, is gathering momentum now that the winds have laid some. Plus the Gulf shrimp season opened on July 15th. That means bull reds and kings are being caught near shore. Further out, wahoo and dorado are under the sargassum patches, as well as around anchored shrimp boats. The surf from Sabine to Port O'Connor on to Port Aransas has given up solid trout on light wind days. Inshore, the back lakes continue to hold redfish. Those throwing croaker are catching trout along grassy shorelines in West Matagorda, all the way south to the King Ranch shoreline in the upper Laguna Madre. Port Mansfield's seeing a good bite on flats either side of the channel leading into its harbor. The jetties are also holding fish. Out of Port Isabel, Longbar continues to be the hot spot for trout. The jetties are holding a variety of fish, including mangrove snapper, snook, with tarpon in the channel, and kingfish just offshore. This weekend, both Saturday and Sunday have a double tide schedule of 2 high and 2 low tides each day. I'm Bill Olson, and I'll see you on the coast.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Exide AGM Marine Batteries. Starts like new, stays like new longer. By Gene LaRue and Bobby Garland Lures. With our baits, a good day of fishing is in the bag. By Motor Guide, trolling motors engineered for anglers. By Nitro Performance Fishing Boats. Welcome to the big leagues. By Fort Worth Nissan. Fox Sports Outdoors is powered by Fort Worth Nissan. And by Whataburger. Get your day started at Whataburger with the new jalapeno cheddar biscuit. It's
really keeping me at about the right speed. I'm at about 1.1 miles an hour right now. Pretty good Pretty good wind. There's one right there. Hey, these crappie are biting out here. Welcome back, everybody. Fox Sports Outdoors today. Beautiful Wister Lake, eastern Oklahoma. This is my first ever trip, and boy, am I impressed with the average size of the crappie here in this lake. There we go. All right. These crappie are good ones now. There we go. How about that? Beautiful fish. I did stick a couple of these on scales earlier just to see what they weighed, and these are averaging from 1 pound 8 ounces to 1 pound 11 ounces. So we are keeping us a nice mess of them today in my Nitro live well. Let me talk to you just a second about Wister Lake. It's about 7,300 acres, and it is set in the heart of some of the prettiest country you can possibly imagine. Great places to camp and fish and take your family. It's just a fantastic spot. Now the water here is a little off color. It's kind of a stained color. It's not a real clear water lake. It's not a deep lake. The river channel here I'm finding is about 25 feet deep, but most of the rest of the lake is anywhere from 6 to 10 feet deep. So it's a fairly flat lake. I've driven the lake, and I will tell you, you need to be careful if you come here because the upper part of this lake has got a lot of standing timber in it, and some of it right below the surface. So you need to be real careful if you're out of the river channel. You need a good chart. If you're gonna fish here, stay in that river channel. If you're gonna run, keep from damaging your lower unit. Let's go to Cajun Phil and Kevin with your Louisiana fishing report.
Hey friends, Captain Kevin Broussard here with your Fox Sports Louisiana Outdoor Report. I'm going to talk to you about some saltwater action. I tell you what, we're in the summertime pattern right now, and all along the Louisiana coast, saltwater fishing's great. Tell you what, I talked to old Tofu Bourgeois down on the feet. He said they're catching lots of redfish, good reports of speckled trout. Mostly a redfish, mostly on soft classics, gold spoon, speckled trout, live shrimp. I tell you what, I also had some friends go out of Breton Sound Marina. They went to the rigs, caught a lot of speckled trout there on live shrimp. And right now, we're going to turn it over to old Cajun Phil, see what's going on the freshwater scene.
Thanks, Captain Kevin. I tell you what, friends, as far as the bass fishing goes, remember, he's talking about summer patterns, already hot, very hot. We talked to Joe Jocelyn up at Toledo Bend. Joe says, Cajun, right now there's so many people fishing at night. He said, it's crazy. We like to get to about 5 foot of water with grass going up to about 3. Throw that buzzbait or spinnerbait there, you'll do well. Now keep in mind, if it's a bright, full moon night, we like to go with a black skirt. Why? When the bass are looking up, you see the moon, the black skirt silhouettes, they can find it really easy. Dark nights, we throw white skirts because they can see that real easy. Now, deep water pattern, we like 25, 30 foot of water, but with a hump or a ridge coming up in about 12, 15 foot of water. You get that with a little tree top or a little brush on top of there, you have got a winner. Key is, once you key in on these areas, you got to spend the night on that area because they're only going to make a couple of moves up there to feed.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day. By Mercury Marine, celebrating 75 years of marine excellence. By Stren Fishing Lines, the standard of dependability. And by Tracker Boats. It's more than just a boat, it's a tracker.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for the Whataburger Ask the Pro. This week's question is from Casey, who asks, how do you catch bass in the heat of the day in the middle of summer? We asked Bassmaster Elite Angler Aaron Martins for the answer.
Well, it's really, really tough. I mean, obviously, if you've watched, I've been caught on Sundays a lot, and Sundays are usually a tougher day after we beat on it for a whole week. So that's the 7th day of fishing pressure. And a lot of times I just go to a drop shot. You know, some lakes a drop shot doesn't work as well, and I always go either shaky head or drop shot. For my really tough, when it's really hard, and I usually keep them both, but usually one will outfish the other one. So it's either going to be a drop shot or a shaky head, depending what lake you're at.
Thank you, Aaron. If you have a question for one of the anglers, visit our website, follow the Ask the Pro link, and let us know. Now let's see which viewer wins the Costa Catch of the Week.
It's time right now for the Costa Catch of the Week winner. Someone wins a free pair of Costa sunglasses. This week's winner is Stefan DeMarco of Hopedale, Louisiana. He's showing off a 30-inch redfish he caught out of Lake Robin, Louisiana. If you would like to have a chance to win a brand new pair of Costas, just go to our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com, follow the instructions, and you could be our next winner. If you'd like to see all of the Costa frame and lens styles, go back to the front page of the website and click on the Costa logo. You can see all of their styles there, including the frame style I was wearing on this week's episode called Switchfoot. Next up, it's time for the Academy Sports and Outdoors Right Stuff feature, the right gear to catch big slab crappie like we caught on this week's episode. These 4 crappie in my hand weigh anywhere from 1 pound 11 ounces to 2 pounds and 2 ounces. And by the way, my cameraman and I were both fishing today, so we are well within our legal limits. I've got 30 of them in this basket that we caught the technique that you saw us using today. Now, in order to do that, you'll need big, long rods. This is the Lew's Wally Marshall Troll Tech rod. They come in lengths all the way out to 14 feet, and this is a 14-footer. Look at all this rod. And you need that much length in order to get those crankbaits out to the sides of your boat, cover more water. You need several of these rods in varying lengths. Now, as far as the crankbaits are concerned, these are the Strike King slab hammer crankbaits, and they come in several different depth ranges, ranging anywhere from 3 feet deep all the way down to 10 feet plus. Check those out at the Strike King website. Again, you can see that by clicking the Strike King logo on the front page of our website. You know, some of my fondest memories growing up are some of the stories that my granddad, my grandma, my dad, my mom told me, all kinds of stories about when they were kids and what life was like before I was born. You know, one of the greatest tragedies that we've encountered in our era is the loss of storytelling. Just a chance to sit down and tell kids what life was like before they were ever around. Today's electronic age, our kids are so preoccupied with whatever electronic gadget they happen to be holding that we just don't have time for that type of thing anymore. But I challenge you and me both to make time to sit our kids and our grandkids down and tell them stories, because one of these days, those will be the memories that they too will cherish. Hey, I hope you enjoyed our trip today to beautiful Wister Lake in far eastern Oklahoma, not far from Fort Smith, Arkansas. And as you saw, this is a great crappie lake, and this trolling technique with crankbaits works very well, not only here, but in any lake that's got crappie around you. Go get yourself some of this gear, give it a try, and I think you too could catch some big old slab crappie like we caught on this week's episode. Hey, don't forget to join us next week. We'll be on at 10:30 Thursday night with a repeat airing Saturday morning at 7:30. That time ever changes. You'll be the first to know on the front page of our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. And by the way, don't forget all the latest fishing news, video, photos, and information will be posted on our Twitter feed. You can look us up. The Twitter address you see on your screen. We're switching to Twitter, folks. So even if you're not a member, go get yourself a free account so that you can follow us and all the latest fishing news on our Twitter feed. But at the present, we are still on Facebook, and you can see us at the address you see on your screen. From Wister Lake in eastern Oklahoma, until next week, I'm Barry Stokes. Be safe, have fun. Bye-bye, y'all.